The Book of 1 Kings, Chapter 1. Now King David was old and stricken in years, and they covered him with clothes, but he gat no heat. Wherefore his servant said unto him, Let there be sought for my Adonai the king a young virgin, and let her stand before the king, and let her cherish him, and let her lie in thy bosom, that my Adonai the king may get heat. So they sought for a fair damsel throughout all the coasts of Yasharel, and found Abishag, a Shunammite, and brought her to the king. And the damsel was very fair, and cherished the king, and ministered to him. But the king knew her not. Then Adoniyahu, the son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I will be king. And he prepared him chariots, and horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. And his father had not displeased him at any time in saying, Why hast thou done so? And he also was a very goodly man, and his mother bare him after Avshalom. And he conferred with Joab, the son of Zoriyahu, and with Abiathar the priest, and they, following Adoniyahu, helped him. But Zadok the priest, and Beniyahu the son of Jehoiada, and Nathan the prophet, and Shimei, and Rei, and the mighty men which belonged to David, were not with Adoniyahu. And Adoniyahu slew sheep, and oxen, and fat cattle by the stone of Zoheleth, which is by Enrogel, and called all his brethren the king's sons, and all the men of Yehuda the king's servants. But Nathan the prophet, and Benayahu, and the mighty men, and Sholomah his brother, he called not. Wherefore Nathan spoke unto Bathsheba, the mother of Sholomah, saying, Hast thou not heard that Adoniyahu the son of Haggith doth reign, and David our Adonai knoweth it not? Now therefore come, let me, I pray thee, give thee counsel, that thou mayest save thine own life, and the life of thy son Sholomah. Go and get thee in unto King David, and say unto him, Didst not thou, my Adonai, O king, swear unto thine handmaid, saying, Assuredly Sholomah thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne? Why then doth Adoniyahu reign? Behold, while thou yet talkest there with the king, I also will come in after thee, and confirm thy words. And Bathsheba went in unto the king into the chamber, and the king was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite ministered unto the king. And Bathsheba bowed, and did obeisance unto the king. And the king said, What wouldest thou? And she said unto him, My Adonai, thou swearest by Yahuwah thy Elohim unto thine handmaid, saying, Assuredly Sholomah thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne. And now, behold, Adoniyahu reigneth, and now, my Adonai the king, thou knowest it not. And he hath slain oxen and fat cattle and sheep in abundance, and hath called all the sons of the king, and Abiathar the priest, and Joab the captain of the hosts. But Sholomah thy servant hath he not called. And thou, my Adonai, O king, the eyes of all Yasharel are upon thee, that thou shouldest tell them who shall sit on the throne of my Adonai the king after him. Otherwise it shall come to pass, when my Adonai the king shall sleep with his fathers, that I and my son Sholomah shall be counted offenders. And, lo, while she yet talked with the king, Nathan the prophet also came in. And they told the king, saying, Behold, Nathan the prophet. And when he was come in before the king, he bowed himself before the king with his face to the ground. And Nathan said, My Adonai, O king, hast thou said, Adoniyahu shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne? For he is gone down this day, and hath slain oxen, and fat cattle, and sheep in abundance, and hath called all the king's sons, and the captains of the hosts, and Abiathar the priest, and, behold, they eat and drink before him, and say, Elohim save King Adoniyahu. But me, even me thy servant, and Zadok the priest, and Benayahu the son of Jehoiada, and thy servant Sholomah hath he not called. Is this thing done by my Adonai the king, and thou hast not showed it unto thy servant, who should sit on the throne of my Adonai the king after him? Then King David answered and said, Call me Bathsheba. And she came into the king's presence and stood before the king. And the king sware and said, As Yahuwah liveth, that hath redeemed my soul out of all distress, even as I swear unto thee by Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, saying, Assuredly Shalomah thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne in my stead. Even so will I certainly do this day. Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth, and did reverence to the king, and said, Let my Adonai King David live forever. And King David said, Call me Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada. And they came before the king. The king also said unto them, Take with you the servants of your Adonai, and cause Shalomah my son to ride upon mine own mule, and bring him down to Gihon. And let Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him there king over Yasharel. And blow ye with the trumpet, and say, Elohim save King Shalomah. Then ye shall come up after him, that he may come and sit upon my throne, for he shall be king in my stead. And I have appointed him to be ruler over Yasharel and over Yehuda. And Benaiah the son of Jehoiada answered the king, and said, So be it. Yahuwah Elohim of my Adonai the king say so too. As Yahuwah hath been with my Adonai the king, even so be he with Shalomah, and make his throne greater than the throne of my Adonai King David. So Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites, and the Pelethites went down, and caused Shalomah to ride upon King David's mule, and brought him to Gihon. And Zadok the priest took a horn of oil out of the tabernacle, and anointed Shalomah. And they blew the trumpet, and all the people said, Elohim save King Shalomah. And all the people came up after him, and the people piped with pipes, and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth rent with the sound of them. And Adonai-Yahu and all the guests that were with him heard it, as they had made an end of eating. And when Joab heard the sound of the trumpet, he said, Wherefore is this noise of the city being in an uproar? And while he yet spake, behold, Jehonathan the son of Abiathar the priest came, and Adonai-Yahu said unto him, Come in, for thou art a valiant man, and bringest good tidings. And Jehonathan answered and said to Adonai-Yahu, Verily our Adonai King David hath made Shalomah king. And the king hath sent with him Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites, and the Pelethites, and they have caused him to ride upon the king's mule. And Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet have anointed him king in Gihon, and they are come up from thence rejoicing, so that the city rang again. This is the noise that ye have heard. And also Shalomah sitteth on the throne of the kingdom. And moreover, the king's servants came to bless our Adonai King David, saying, Elohim make the name of Shalomah better than thy name, and make his throne greater than thy throne. And the king bowed himself upon the bed. And also thus said the king, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, which hath given one to sit on my throne this day, mine eyes even seeing it. And all the guests that were with Adonai-Yahu were afraid, and rose up, and went every man his way. And Adonai-Yahu feared because of Shalomah, and arose, and went, and caught hold on the horns of the altar. And it was told Shalomah, saying, Behold, Adonai-Yahu feareth King Shalomah, for, lo, he hath caught hold on the horns of the altar, saying, Let King Shalomah swear unto me today that he will not slay his servant with the sword. And Shalomah said, If he will show himself a worthy man, there shall not a hair of him fall to the earth. But if wickedness shall be found in him, he shall die. So King Shalomah sent, and they brought him down from the altar. And he came and bowed himself to the king Shalomah. And Shalomah said unto him, Go to thine house. First Kings 2. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Shalomah his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man, and keep the charge of Yahuwah thy Elohim, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. That Yahuwah may continue his word which he spake concerning me, saying, If thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth with all their heart, and with all their soul, there shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Yasharel. Moreover, thou knowest also what Joab, the son of Zeruiah, did to me, and what he did to the two captains of the hosts of Yasharel, unto Avner the son of Ner, and unto Amasa the son of Yether, whom he slew, and shed the blood of war in peace, and put the blood of war upon his girdle that was about his loins, and in his shoes that were on his feet. Do therefore according to thy wisdom, and let not his whorehead go down to the grave in peace. But show kindness unto the sons of Barzillai, the Gileadite, and let them be of those that eat at thy table. For so they came to me when I fled because of Avshalom thy brother. And, behold, thou hast with thee Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benyamite of Bahurim, which cursed me with a grievous curse in the day when I went to Mahanaim. But he came down to meet me at Yarden, and I swear to him by Yahuwah, saying, I will not put thee to death with the sword. Now therefore hold him not guiltless, for thou art a wise man, and knowest what thou oughtest to do unto him. But his whorehead bring thou down to the grave with blood. So David slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David. And the days that David reigned over Yasharel were 40 years. 7 years reigned he in Hebron, and 33 years reigned he in Jerusalem. Then sat Shlomo upon the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was established greatly. And Adoniyahu the son of Haggith came to Bathsheba, the mother of Shlomo, and she said, Comest thou peaceably? And he said, Peaceably. He said, Moreover, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And she said, Say on. And he said, Thou knowest that the kingdom was mine, and that all Yasharel set their faces on me, that I should reign. Howbeit, the kingdom is turned about, and is become my brother's, for it was his from Yahuwah. And now I ask one petition of thee, deny me not. And she said unto him, Say on. And he said, Speak, I pray thee, unto Shlomo the king, for he will not say thee nay, that he give me Abishag the Shunammite to wife. And Bathsheba said, Well, I will speak for thee unto the king. Bathsheba therefore went unto King Shlomo to speak unto him for Adoniyahu. And the king rose up to meet her, and bowed himself unto her, and sat down on his throne, and caused a seat to be set for the king's mother, and she sat on his right hand. Then she said, I desire one small petition of thee. I pray thee, say me not nay. And the king said unto her, Ask on, my mother, for I will not say thee nay. And she said, Let Abishag the Shunammite be given to Adoniyahu thy brother to wife. And King Shlomo answered and said unto his mother, And why dost thou ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adoniyahu? Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is mine elder brother, even for him, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Zeruiah. Then King Shlomo sware by Yahuwah, saying, Elohim do so to me, and more also, if Adoniyahu have not spoken this word against his own life. Now therefore, as Yahuwah liveth, which hath established me, and set me on the throne of David my father, and who hath made me a house, as he promised, Adoniyahu shall be put to death this day. And King Shlomo sent by the hand of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him, that he died. And unto Abiathar the priest said the king, Get thee to Anathoth, unto thine own fields, for thou art worthy of death. But I will not at this time put thee to death, because thou bearest the ark of the Adonai Yahuwah before David my father, and because thou hast been afflicted in all wherein my father was afflicted. So Shlomo thrust out Abiathar from being priest unto Yahuwah, that he might fulfill the word of Yahuwah, which he spake concerning the house of Eli in Shiloh. Then tidings came to Joab, for Joab had turned after Adoni-Yahu, though he turned not after Avshalom. And Joab fled unto the tabernacle of Yahuwah, and caught hold on the horns of the altar. And it was told King Shalomah that Joab was fled unto the tabernacle of Yahuwah, and behold, he is by the altar. Then Shalomah sent Benaiyahu the son of Jehoiada, saying, Go, fall upon him. And Benaiyahu came to the tabernacle of Yahuwah, and said unto him, Thus saith the king, Come forth. And he said, Nay, but I will die here. And Benaiyahu brought the king word again, saying, Thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And the king said unto him, Do as he hath said, and fall upon him, and bury him, that thou mayest take away the innocent blood which Joab shed from me and from the house of my father. And Yahuwah shall return his blood upon his own head, who fell upon 2 men more righteous and better than he, and slew them with the sword, my father David not knowing thereof, to wit, Avner the son of Ner, captain of the host of Yasharel, and Amasa the son of Yether, captain of the host of Yehuda. Their blood shall therefore return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of his seed forever. But upon David, and upon his seed, and upon his house, and upon his throne, shall there be peace forever from Yahuwah. So Benaiyahu the son of Jehoiada went up, and fell upon him, and slew him, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. And the king put Benaiyahu the son of Jehoiada in his room over the host, and Zadok the priest did the king put in the room of Abiathar. And the king sent and called for Shimei, and said unto him, Build thee a house in Jerusalem, and dwell there, and go not forth thence any whither. For it shall be, that on the day thou goest out, and passest over the brook Kidron, thou shalt know for certain that thou shalt surely die. Thy blood shall be upon thine own head. And Shimei said unto the king, The saying is good. As my Adonai the king has said, so will thy servant do. And Shimei dwelt in Jerusalem many days. And it came to pass, at the end of 3 years, that 2 of the servants of Shimei ran away unto Achish, son of Maacah, king of Gath. And they told Shimei, saying, Behold, thy servants be in Gath. And Shimei arose, and saddled his donkey, and went to Gath to Achish, to seek his servants. And Shimei went, and brought his servants from Gath. And it was told Shalomah that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath, and was come again. And the king sent and called for Shimei, and said unto him, Did I not make thee to swear by Yahuwah, and protested unto thee, saying, Know for a certain, on the day thou goest out and walkest abroad any whither, that thou shalt surely die? And thou saidst unto me, The word that I have heard is good. Why then hast thou not kept the oath of Yahuwah, and the commandment that I have charged thee with? The king said moreover to Shimei, Thou knowest all the wickedness which thine heart is privy to, that thou didst to David my father. Therefore Yahuwah shall return thy wickedness upon thine own head. And King Shalomah shall be blessed, and the throne of David shall be established before Yahuwah forever. So the king commanded Benaiyahu the son of Jehoiada, which went out and fell upon him, that he died. And the kingdom was established in the hand of Shalomah. 1 Kings 3. And Shalomah made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter, and brought her into the city of David, until he had made an end of building his own house, and the house of Yahuwah, and the wall of Jerusalem round about. Only the people sacrificed in high places, because there was no house built unto the name of Yahuwah until those days. And Shalomah loved Yahuwah, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was a great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Shalomah offer upon that altar. In Gibeon, Yahuwah appeared to Shalomah in a dream by night. And Elohim said, Ask what I shall give thee. And Shalomah said, Thou hast showed unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son, to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great multitude, that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this so great a people? And the speech pleased the Adonai, that Shalomah had asked this thing. And Elohim said unto him, Because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and an understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. And I have also given thee that which thou hast not asked, both riches and honor, so that there shall not be any among the kings like unto thee all thy days. And if thou wilt walk in my ways, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as thy father David did walk, then I will lengthen thy days. And Shalomah awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And he came to Yerushalayim, and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah, and offered up burnt offerings, and offered peace offerings, and made a feast to all his servants. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, O my Adonai, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also, and we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. And she arose at midnight, and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suck, behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son which I did bear. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. Then said the king, The one saith, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. And the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in 2, and give half to the one, and half to the other. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my Adonai, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divide it. Then the king answered and said, Give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Yasharel heard of the judgment which the king had judged, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of Elohim was in him to do judgment. First Kings 4. So King Shalomo was king over all Yasharel. And these were the princes which he had: Azaryahu the son of Zadok the priest, Elihoreph, and Ahiyahu the sons of Shisha, scribes, Jehoshaphat the son of Achilud the recorder, and Benayahu the son of Jehoiada was over the host, and Zadok and Abiathar were the priests. And Azaryahu the son of Nathan was over the officers, and Zabud the son of Nathan was principal officer and the king's friend. And Ahishar was over the household, and Adoniram the son of Avda was over the tribute. And Shalomo had 12 officers over all Yasharel, which provided victuals for the king and his household. Each man his month in a year made provision. And these are their names: the son of Hur and Ephraim, the son of Dekar and Makaz, and in Sha'albim and Bet Shemesh, and Elon Bet Hanan, the son of Chesed, and Aruboth. To him pertained Soko and all the land of Hefer, the son of Abinadab, in all the region of Dor, which had Taphath, the daughter of Shalomo, to wife. Ba'anah, the son of Achilud, to him pertained Ta'anak and Megiddo, and all Bet She'an, which is by Zartanah, between Yisrael, from Bet She'an to Abel Meholah, even unto the place that is beyond Yokneam, the son of Geber, and Ramoth Gilead. To him pertain the towns of Yair, the son of Manasseh, which are in Gilead. To him also pertain the region of Argob, which is in Bashan, 80 great cities with walls and brazen bars. Ahinadav, the son of Edo, had Mahanaim. Ahimaaz was in Naphtali. He also took Basmath, the daughter of Shalomo, to wife. Ba'anah, the son of Hushai, was in Asher and in Aloth. Jehoshaphat, the son of Paruah, in Issachar. Shemai, the son of Elah, in Benjamin. Gever, the son of Uri, was in the country of Gilead, in the country of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and of Og, king of Bashan. And he was the only officer which was in the land. Yehuda and Yasharel were many, as the sand which is by the sea in multitude, eating and drinking and making merry. And Shalomah reigned over all kingdoms from the river unto the land of the Philistines, and unto the border of Egypt. They brought presents, and served Shalomah all the days of his life. And Shalomah's provision for one day was 30 measures of fine flour, and 80 measures of meal, 10 fat oxen, and 20 oxen out of the pastures, and 100 sheep, beside harts and roebucks, and fallow deer, and fatted fowl. For he had dominion over all the region on this side the river, from Tifsah even to Azah, over all the kings on this side the river, and he had peace on all sides round about him. And Yehuda and Yasharel dwelt safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan even to Beer-sheva, all the days of Shalomo. And Shalomo had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, and 12,000 horsemen. And those officers provided victual for King Shalomo, and for all that came unto King Shalomo's table, every man in his month. They lacked nothing. Barley also and straw for the horses and dromedaries brought they unto the place where the officers were, every man according to his charge. And Elohim gave Shalomo wisdom and understanding exceeding much, and largeness of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. And Shalomo's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the children of the east country, and all the wisdom of Egypt. For he was wiser than all men, than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, and Kalkol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol, and his fame was in all nations round about. And he spake 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. And he spake of trees, from the cedar tree that is in Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that springeth out of the wall. He spake also of beasts, and of fowl, and of creeping things, and of fish. And there came of all people to hear the wisdom of Shalomo, from all kings of the earth, which had heard of his wisdom. 1 Kings 5. And Kiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Shalomah, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Kiram was ever a lover of David. And Shalomah sent to Kiram, saying, Thou knowest how that David my father could not build a house unto the name of Yahuwah his Elohim, for the wars which were about him on every side, until Yahuwah put them under the soles of his feet. But now Yahuwah my Elohim hath given me rest on every side, so that there is neither adversary nor evil occurrent. And, behold, I purpose to build a house unto the name of Yahuwah my Elohim, as Yahuwah spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son, whom I will set upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build a house unto my name. Now therefore command thou that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servant shall be with thy servants. And unto thee will I give hire for thy servants, according to all that thou shalt appoint. For thou knowest that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber like unto the Sidonians. And it came to pass, when Kiram heard the words of Shalomah, that he rejoiced greatly, and said, Blessed be Yahuwah this day, which hath given unto David a wise son over this great people. And Kiram sent to Shalomah, saying, I have considered the things which thou sentest to me for, and I will do all thy desire concerning timber of cedar, and concerning timber of fir. My servant shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by sea in floats unto the place that thou shalt appoint me, and will cause them to be discharged there, and thou shalt receive them, and thou shalt accomplish my desire in giving food for my household. So Kiram gave Shalomah cedar trees and fir trees according to all his desire. And Shalomah gave Kiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household, and 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Shalomah to Kiram year by year. And Yahuwah gave Shalomah wisdom as he promised him. And there was peace between Kiram and Shalomah, and they two made a league together. And King Shalomah raised a levy out of all Yasharel, and the levy was 30,000 men. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. And Adoniram was over the levy. And Shalomah had 70,000 that bare burdens, and 80,000 hewers in the mountains, beside the chief of Shalomah's officers which were over the work, 3,300 which ruled over the people that wrought in the work. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and huge stones, to lay the foundation of the house. And Shalomah's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone squarers. So they prepared timber and stones to build the house. First Kings 6. And it came to pass in the 480th year, after the children of Yasharel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Shalomah's reign over Yasharel, in the month Zeph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of Yahuwah. And the house which King Shalomah built for Yahuwah, the length thereof was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 20 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits. And the porch before the temple of the house, 20 cubits was the length thereof, according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth thereof before the house. And for the house he made windows of narrow lights. And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle. And he made chambers round about. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without in the wall of the house he made narrowed rests round about, that the beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone made ready before it was brought thither, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with winding stairs into the middle chamber, and out of the middle into the third. So he built the house, and finished it, and covered the house with beams and boards of cedar. And then he built chambers against all the house, 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timber of cedar. And the word of Yahuwah came to Shalomah, saying, Concerning this house which thou art in building, if thou wilt walk in my statutes, and execute my judgments, and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then will I perform my word with thee, which I spake unto David thy father. And I will dwell among the children of Yasharel, and will not forsake my people Yasharel. So Shalomah built the house, and finished it. And he built the walls of the house within with boards of cedar, both the floor of the house and the walls of the ceiling. And he covered them on the inside with wood, and covered the floor of the house with planks of fir. And he built 20 cubits on the sides of the house, both the floor and the walls with boards of cedar. He even built them for it within, even for the oracle, even for the most holy place. And the house, that is the temple before it, was 40 cubits long. And the cedar of the house within was carved with knops and open flowers. All was cedar, there was no stone seen. And the oracle he prepared in the house within, to set there the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah. And the oracle in the forepart was 20 cubits in length, and 20 cubits in breadth, and 20 cubits in the height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and so covered the altar which was of cedar. So Shalomah overlaid the house within with pure gold, and he made a partition by the chains of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold. And the whole house he overlaid with gold, until he had finished all the house. Also, the whole altar that was by the oracle he overlaid with gold. And within the oracle he made 2 cherubim of olive tree, each 10 cubits high. And 5 cubits was the one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits the other wing of the cherub. From the uttermost part of the one wing unto the uttermost part of the other were 10 cubits. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both the cherubim were of one measure and one size. The height of the one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was it of the other cherub. And he set the cherubim within the inner house, and they stretched forth the wings of the cherubim, so that the wing of the one touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched one another in the midst of the house. And he overlaid the cherubim with gold, and he carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubim, and palm trees, and open flowers within and without. And the floor of the house he overlaid with gold within and without. And for the entering of the oracle he made doors of olive tree. The lintel and side posts were a 5th part of the wall. The 2 doors also were of olive tree, and he carved upon them carvings of cherubim and palm trees and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold, and spread gold upon the cherubim and upon the palm trees. So also made he for the door of the temple posts of olive tree a 4th part of the wall. And the 2 doors were of fir tree. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. And he carved thereon cherubim and palm trees and open flowers, and covered them with gold fitted upon the carved work. And he built the inner court with 3 rows of hewed stone, and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year was the foundation of the house of Yahuwah laid, in the month Ziph. And in the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it. So was he 7 years in building it. First Kings 7. But Shalomah was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. He built also the house of the forest of Lebanon. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits, upon 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams upon the pillars. And it was covered with cedar above upon the beams that lay on 45 pillars, 15 in a row. And there were windows in 3 rows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And all the doors and posts were square, with the windows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And he made a porch of pillars. The length thereof was 50 cubits, and the breadth thereof 30 cubits, and the porch was before them. And the other pillars and the thick beam were before them. Then he made a porch for the throne where he might judge, even the porch of judgment. And it was covered with cedar from one side of the floor to the other. And his house where he dwelt had another court within the porch, which was of the like work. Shalomah made also a house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken to wife, like unto this porch. All these were of costly stones, according to the measures of hewed stones, sawed with saws, within and without, even from the foundation unto the coping. and so on the outside toward the great court. And the foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits. And above were costly stones, after the measures of hewed stones and cedars. And the great court round about was with 3 rows of hewed stones, and a row of cedar beams, both for the inner court of the house of Yahuwah, and for the porch of the house. And King Shalomah sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning to work all works in brass. And he came to King Shalomah and wrought all his work. For he cast 2 pillars of brass of 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits did compass either of them about. And he made 2 chapiters of molten brass, to set upon the tops of the pillars. The height of the one chapiter was 5 cubits, and the height of the other chapiter was 5 cubits. And nets of checker work, and wreaths of chain work, for the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, 7 for the one chapiter, and 7 for the other chapiter. And he made the pillars, and 2 rows round about upon the one network, to cover the chapiters that were upon the top, with pomegranates, and so did he for the other chapiter. And the chapiters that were upon the top of the pillars were of lily work in the porch, 4 cubits. And the chapiters upon the 2 pillars had pomegranates also above, over against the belly which was by the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows round about upon the other chapiter. And he set up the pillars in the porch of the temple. And he set up the right pillar, and called the name thereof Yakin. And he set up the left pillar, and called the name thereof Boaz. And upon the top of the pillars was lily work. So was the work of the pillars finished. And he made a molten sea, 10 cubits from the one brim to the other. It was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits. And a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about. And under the brim of it round about there were knops, compassing it, 10 in a cubit, compassing the sea round about. The knops were cast in 2 rows when it was cast. It stood upon 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east. And the sea was set above upon them, and all their hinder parts were inward. And it was a handbreadth thick, and the brim thereof was wrought like the brim of a cup, with flowers of lilies. It contained 2,000 baths. And he made 10 bases of brass. 4 cubits was the length of one base, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, and 3 cubits the height of it. And the work of the bases was on this manner. They had borders, and the borders were between the ledges. And on the borders that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubim. And upon the ledges there was a base above, and beneath the lions and oxen were certain additions made of thin work. And every base had 4 brazen wheels, and plates of brass, and the 4 corners thereof had undersetters. Under the laver were undersetters molten at the side of every addition. And the mouth of it within the chapiter and above was a cubit, but the mouth thereof was round after the work of the base, a cubit and a half. And also upon the mouth of it were gravings with their borders, 4 square, not round. And under the borders were 4 wheels, and the axletrees of the wheels were joined to the base. And the height of a wheel was a cubit and half a cubit. And the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axletrees and their naves and their felloes and their spokes were all molten. And there were 4 undersetters to the 4 corners of one base, and the undersetters were of the very base itself. And in the top of the base was there a round compass of half a cubit high. And on the top of the base the ledges thereof, and the borders thereof, were of the same. For on the plates of the ledges thereof, and on the borders thereof, he graved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, according to the proportion of every one, and additions round about. After this manner he made the 10 bases. All of them had 1 casting, 1 measure, and 1 size. Then made he 10 lavers of brass. 1 laver contained 40 baths, and every laver was 4 cubits, and upon every one of the 10 bases 1 laver. And he put 5 bases on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he set the sea on the right side of the house eastward over against the south. And Kiram made the lavers, and the shovels, and the basins. So Kiram made an end of doing all the work that he made King Shalomah for the house of Yahuwah. The 2 pillars and the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were on the top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, and 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, even 2 rows of pomegranates for 1 network, to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were upon the pillars, and the 10 bases, and 10 lavers on the bases, and 1 sea, and 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, and all these vessels, which Kiram made to King Shalomah for the house of Yahuwah, were of bright brass. And the plain of Yarden did the king cast them, and the clay ground between Succoth and Zarthan. And Shalomah left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceeding many, neither was a weight of the brass found out. And Shalomah made all the vessels that pertained unto the house of Yahuwah, the altar of gold, and the table of gold, whereupon the showbread was, and the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, before the oracle with the flowers, and the lamps, and the tongues of gold, and the bowls, and the snuffers, and the basins, and the spoons, and the censers of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit, of the temple. So was ended all the work that King Shalomah made for the house of Yahuwah. And Shalomah brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and the vessels did he put among the treasures of the house of Yahuwah. First Kings 8. Then Shalomah assembled the elders of Yasharel, and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Yasharel, unto King Shalomah in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah out of the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Yasharel assembled themselves unto King Shalomah at the feast in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month. And all the elders of Yasharel came, and the priests took up the ark. And they brought up the ark of Yahuwah, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, even those did the priests and the Levites bring up. And King Shalomah and all the congregation of Yasharel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitude. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of Yahuwah unto his place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread forth their 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and the staves thereof above. And they drew out the staves, that the ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracle, and they were not seen without. And there they are unto this day. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone, which Moses put there at Horeb, when Yahuwah made a covenant with the children of Yasharel, when they came out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahuwah, so that the priest could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of Yahuwah had filled the house of Yahuwah. Then spake Shalomah. Yahuwah said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. I have surely built thee a house to dwell in, a settled place for thee to abide in forever. And the king turned his face about, and blessed all the congregation of Yasharel. And all the congregation of Yasharel stood. And he said, Blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, which spake with his mouth unto David my father, and hath with his hand fulfilled it, saying, Since the day that I brought forth my people Yasharel out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Yasharel to build a house, that my name might be therein, but I chose David to be over my people Yasharel. And it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel. And Yahuwah said unto David my father, Whereas it was in thine heart to build a house unto my name, thou didst well, that it was in thine heart. Nevertheless, thou shalt not build the house, but thy son that shall come forth out of thy loins, he shall build the house unto my name. And Yahuwah hath performed his word that he spake, and I am risen up in the room of David my father, and sit on the throne of Yasharel, as Yahuwah promised, and have built a house for the name of Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel. And I have set there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahuwah, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. And Shalomah stood before the altar of Yahuwah in the presence of all the congregation of Yasharel, and spread forth his hands toward heaven. And he said, Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, there is no Elohim like thee, in heaven above or on earth beneath, who keepest covenant and mercy with thy servants that walk before thee with all their heart, who hast kept with thy servant David my father that thou promised him. Thou spakest also with thy mouth, and hast fulfilled it with thine hand, as it is this day. Therefore now, Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, keep with thy servant David my father that thou promised him, saying, There shall not fail thee a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Yasharel, so that thy children take heed to their way, that they walk before me as thou hast walked before me. And now, O Elohim of Yasharel, let thy word, I pray thee, be verified, which thou spakest unto thy servant David my father. But will Elohim indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have builded? Yet have thou respect unto the prayer of thy servant, and to his supplication, O Yahuwah my Elohim, to hearken unto the cry and to the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee today, that thine eyes may be open toward this house night and day, even toward the place of which thou hast said, My name shall be there, that thou mayest hearken unto the prayer which thy servant shall make toward this place. And hearken thou to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Yasharel, when they shall pray toward this place. And hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and when thou hearest, forgive. If any man trespass against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and the oath come before thine altar in this house, then hear thou in heaven, and do, and judge thy servants, condemning the wicked, to bring his way upon his head, and justifying the righteous, to give him according to his righteousness. When thy people Yasharel be smitten down before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall turn again to thee, and confess thy name, and pray, and make supplication unto thee in this house, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy people Yasharel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest unto their fathers. When heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee, if they pray toward this place, and confess thy name, and turn from their sin when thou afflictest them, then hear thou in heaven, and forgive the sin of thy servants, and of thy people Yasharel, that thou teach them the good way wherein they should walk, and give rain upon thy land, which thou hast given to thy people for an inheritance. If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, blasting, mildew, locust, or if there be caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatsoever plague, whatsoever sickness there be, what prayer and supplication soever be made by any man, or by all thy people Yasharel, which shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hands toward this house, then hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive, and do, and give to every man according to his ways, whose heart thou knowest. For thou, even thou only, knowest the hearts of all the children of men, that they may fear thee all the days that they live in the land which thou gavest unto our fathers. Moreover, concerning a stranger, that is not of thy people Yasharel, but cometh out of a far country for thy name's sake. For they shall hear of thy great name, and of thy strong hand, and of thy stretched out arm, when he shall come and pray toward this house. Hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all people of the earth may know thy name, to fear thee, as do thy people Yasharel, and that they may know that this house, which I have builded, is called by thy name. If thy people go out to battle against their enemy, whithersoever thou shalt send them, and shall pray unto Yahuwah toward the city which thou hast chosen, and toward the house that I have built for thy name, then hear thou in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near. Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whither they were carried captives, and repent, and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captives, saying, We have sinned, and have done perversely, we have committed wickedness, and so return unto thee with all their heart, and with all their soul, in the land of their enemies, which led them away captive, and pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name. Then hear thou their prayer and their supplication in heaven thy dwelling place, and maintain their cause. And forgive thy people that have sinned against thee, and all their transgressions, wherein they have transgressed against thee. And give them compassion before them who carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they be thy people, and thine inheritance, which thou broughtest forth out of Egypt, from the midst of the furnace of iron, that thine eyes may be open unto the supplication of thy servant, and unto the supplication of thy people Yasharel, to hearken unto them in all that they call for unto thee. For thou didst separate them from among all the people of the earth, to be thine inheritance, as thou spakest by the hand of Moses thy servant, when thou broughtest our fathers out of Egypt, O Adonai Yahuwah. And it was so, that when Shalomah had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication unto Yahuwah, he arose from before the altar of Yahuwah, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread up to heaven. And he stood and blessed all the congregation of Yasharel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahuwah, that hath given rest unto his people Yasharel, according to all that he promised. There hath not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by the hand of Moses his servant. Yahuwah our Elohim be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us, nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts unto him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers. And let these my words, wherewith I have made supplication before Yahuwah, be nigh unto Yahuwah our Elohim day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant, and the cause of his people Yasharel at all times, as the matter shall require, that all the people of the earth may know that Yahuwah is Elohim, and that there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect with Yahuwah our Elohim, to walk in his statutes, and to keep his commandments, as at this day. And the king, and all Yasharel with him, offered sacrifice before Yahuwah. And Shalomah offered a sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered unto Yahuwah, 22,000 oxen, and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Yasharel dedicated the house of Yahuwah. The same day did the king hallow the middle of the court that was before the house of Yahuwah, for there he offered burnt offerings and meat offerings, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before Yahuwah was too little to receive the burnt offerings and meat offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And at that time Shalomah held a feast, and all Yasharel with him, a great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before Yahuwah our Elohim, 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went unto their tents joyful and glad of heart, for all the goodness that Yahuwah had done for David his servant, and for Yasharel his people. First Kings 9. And it came to pass, when Shalomah had finished the building of the house of Yahuwah, and the king's house, and all Shalomah's desire which he was pleased to do, that Yahuwah appeared to Shalomah the second time, as he had appeared unto him at Gibeon. And Yahuwah said unto him, I have heard thy prayer, and thy supplication, that thou hast made before me. I have hallowed this house, which thou hast built, to put my name there forever, and mine eyes and mine heart shall be there perpetually. And if thou wilt walk before me, as David thy father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded thee, and wilt keep my statutes and my judgments, then I will establish the throne of thy kingdom upon Yasharel forever, as I promised to David thy father, saying, There shall not fail thee a man upon the throne of Yasharel. But if ye shall at all turn from following me, ye or your children, and will not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then will I cut off Yasharel out of the land which I have given them, and this house which I have hallowed for my name will I cast out of my sight. And Yasharel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people. And at this house, which is high, every one that passeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss. And they shall say, Why hath Yahuwah done thus unto this land, and to this house? And they shall answer, Because they forsook Yahuwah their Elohim, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and have taken hold upon other gods, and have worshipped them, and served them. Therefore hath Yahuwah brought upon them all this evil. And it came to pass, at the end of 20 years, when Shalomah had built the 2 houses, the house of Yahuwah and the king's house. Now Kiram the king of Tyre had furnished Shalomah with cedar trees and fir trees, and with gold, according to all his desire. That then King Shalomah gave Kiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. And Kiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Shalomah had given him, and they pleased him not. And he said, What cities are these which thou hast given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul unto this day. And Kiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold. And this is the reason of the levy which King Shalomah raised, for to build the house of Yahuwah, and his own house, and Milo, and the wall of Yerushalayim, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. For Pharaoh king of Egypt had gone up, and taken Gezer, and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanites that dwelt in the city, and given it for a present unto his daughter, Shalomah's wife. And Shalomah built Gezer, and Bet Horon the nether, and Baalath, and Tadmor in the wilderness, in the land, and all the cities of store that Shalomah had, and cities for his chariots, and cities for his horsemen, and that which Shalomah desired to build in Yerushalayim, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. And all the people that were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which were not of the children of Yasharel, their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Yasharel also were not able utterly to destroy, upon those did Shalomah levy a tribute of bond service unto this day. But of the children of Yasharel did Shalomah make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots, and his horsemen. These were the chief of the officers that were over Shalomah's work, 550, which bare rule over the people that wrought in the work. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of the city of David unto her house, which Shalomah had built for her. Then did he build Millo. And 3 times in a year did Shalomah offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto Yahuwah. And he burnt incense upon the altar that was before Yahuwah. So he finished the house. And King Shalomah made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. And Kiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Shalomah. And they came to Ophir, and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Shalomah. First Kings 10. And when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Shalomah concerning the name of Yahuwah, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices, and very much gold, and precious stones. And when she was come to Shalomah, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. And Shalomah told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king, which he told her not. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Shalomah's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up unto the house of Yahuwah, there was no more ruach in her. And she said to the king, It was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Blessed be Yahuwah thy Elohim, which delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Yasharel, because Yahuwah loved Yasharel forever. Therefore made he thee king, to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices very great store, and precious stones. There came no more such abundance of spices as these, which the queen of Sheba gave to King Shalomah. And the navy also of Kiram, that brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir great plenty of almug trees and precious stones. And the king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of Yahuwah, and for the king's house, harps also, and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug trees, nor were seen unto this day. And King Shalomah gave unto the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Shalomah gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Now the weight of gold that came to Shalomah in 1 year was 666 talents of gold, beside that he had of the merchantmen, and of the traffic of the spice merchants, and of all the kings of Arabia, and of the governors of the country. And King Shalomah made 200 targets of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one target. And he made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 pounds of gold went to one shield. And the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory, and overlaid it with the best gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were stays on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the stays. And 12 lions stood there on the one side, and on the other upon the 6 steps. There was not the like made in any kingdom. And all King Shalomah's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Shalomah. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish, with the navy of Kiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. So King Shalomah exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And all the earth sought to Shalomah to hear his wisdom, which Elohim had put in his heart. And they brought every man his present, vessels of silver and vessels of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, a rate year by year. And Shalomah gathered together chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he bestowed in the cities for chariots, and with the king at Yerushalayim. And the king made silver to be in Yerushalayim as stones, and cedars made he to be as the sycamore trees that are in the vale, for abundance. And Shalomah had horses brought out of Egypt, and linen yarn. The king's merchants received the linen yarn at a price. And a chariot came up and went out of Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and a horse for 150. And so for all the kings of the Hittites, and for the kings of Syria, did they bring them out by their means. First Kings 11. But King Shalomah loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which Yahuwah said unto the children of Yasharel, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Shalomah clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass, when Shalomah was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with Yahuwah his Elohim, as was the heart of David his father. For Shalomah went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Shalomah did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and went not fully after Yahuwah, as did David his father. Then did Shalomah build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Yerushalayim, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. And Yahuwah was angry with Shalomah, because his heart was turned from Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods. But he kept not that which Yahuwah commanded. Wherefore Yahuwah said unto Shalomah, Forasmuch as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Yerushalayim's sake, which I have chosen. And Yahuwah stirred up an adversary unto Shalomah, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the king's seed in Edom. For it came to pass, when David was in Edom, and Joab the captain of the host was gone up to bury the slain, after he had smitten every male in Edom. For 6 months did Joab remain there with all Yasharel, until he had cut off every male in Edom. That Hadad fled, he and certain Edomites of his father's servants with him, to go into Egypt, Hadad being yet a little child. And they arose out of Midian, and came to Paran, and they took men with them out of Paran, and they came to Egypt, unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, which gave him a house, and appointed him victuals, and gave him land. And Hadad found great favor in the sight of Pharaoh, so that he gave him to wife the sister of his own wife, the sister of Tahpenes the queen. And the sister of Tahpenes bare him Genubath, his son, whom Tahpenes weaned in Pharaoh's house. And Genubath was in Pharaoh's household among the sons of Pharaoh. And when Hadad heard in Egypt that David slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the captain of the host, was dead, Hadad said to Pharaoh, Let me depart, that I may go to mine own country. Then Pharaoh said unto him, But what hast thou lacked with me, that, behold, thou seekest to go to thine own country? And he answered, Nothing. Howbeit, let me go in any wise. And Elohim stirred him up another adversary, Rezon, the son of Eliadah, which fled from his lord Hadadezer, king of Zobah. And he gathered men unto him, and became captain over a band, when David slew them of Zobah, and they went to Damascus, and dwelt therein, and reigned in Damascus. And he was an adversary to Yasharel all the days of Shalomah, beside the mischief that Hadad did. And he abhorred Yasharel, and reigned over Syria. And Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zeradah, Shalomah's servant, whose mother's name was Zeruah, a widow woman, even he lifted up his hand against the king. And this was a cause that he lifted up his hand against the king. Shalomah built Millo, and repaired the breaches of the city of David his father. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Shalomah, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And it came to pass at that time, when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahiyahu the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahiyahu caught the new garment that was on him, and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, Take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yasharel, Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Shalomah, and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Yasharel, because that they have forsaken me, and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life, for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. And unto his son will I give 1 tribe, that David my servant may have a light alway before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. And I will take thee, and thou shalt reign according to all that thy soul desireth, and shalt be king over Yasharel. And it shall be, if thou wilt hearken unto all that I command thee, and wilt walk in my ways, and do that is right in my sight, to keep my statutes and my commandments, as David my servant did, that I will be with thee, and build thee a sure house, as I built for David, and will give Yasharel unto thee. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever. Shalomah sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt, unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Shalomah. And the rest of the acts of Shalomah, and all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Shalomah? And the time that Shalomah reigned in Jerusalem over all Yasharel was 40 years. And Shalomah slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead. First Kings 12. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Yasharel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of Shalomah, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt, that they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Yasharel came, and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us, lighter, and we will serve thee. And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Shalomah his father while he yet lived, and said, How do ye advise that I may answer this people? And they spake unto him, saying, If thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and wilt serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. And he said unto them, What counsel give ye that we may answer this people, who have spoken to me, saying, Make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter? And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, Thus shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. And now, whereas my father did lade you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father hath chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the 3rd day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the 3rd day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from Yahuwah, that he might perform his saying, which Yahuwah spake by Ahiyahu the Shilonite, unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. So when all Yasharel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Yishai. To your tents, O Yasharel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Yasharel departed unto their tents. But as for the children of Yasharel, which dwelt in the cities of Yehuda, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the tribute, and all Yasharel stoned him with stones, that he died. Therefore King Rehoboam made speed to get him up to his chariot, to flee to Jerusalem. So Yasharel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. And it came to pass, when all Yasharel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Yasharel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Yehuda only. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Yehuda with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Yasharel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam the son of Shalomah. But the word of Elohim came unto Shemayahu, the man of Elohim, saying, Speak unto Rehoboam the son of Shalomah, king of Yehuda, and unto all the house of Yehuda and Benjamin, and to the remnant of the people, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, Ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren the children of Yasharel. Return every man to his house, for this thing is from me. They hearkened therefore to the word of Yahuwah, and returned to depart, according to the word of Yahuwah. Then Jeroboam built Shechem in Mount Ephraim, and dwelt therein, and went out from thence, and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If this people go up to do sacrifice in the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of this people turn again unto their Adonai, even unto Rehoboam king of Yehuda. And they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam king of Yehuda. Whereupon the king took counsel, and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Yasharel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And he set the one in Bet-el, and the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. And he made a house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month, like unto the feast that is in Yehuda, and he offered upon the altar. So did he in Bethel, sacrificing unto the calves that he had made. And he placed in Bethel the priests of the high places, which he had made. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he had devised of his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Yasharel. And he offered upon the altar and burnt incense. First Kings 13. And behold, there came a man of Elohim out of Yehuda by the word of Yahuwah unto Bethel. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of Yahuwah, and said, O altar, altar, thus saith Yahuwah, Behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Yashiyahu by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which Yahuwah has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of Elohim, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, Lay hold on him. And his hand, which he put forth against him, dried up, so that he could not pull it in again to him. The altar also was rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of Elohim had given by the word of Yahuwah. And the king answered and said unto the man of Elohim, Entreat now the face of Yahuwah thy Elohim, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored me again. And the man of Elohim besought Yahuwah, and the king's hand was restored him again, and became as it was before. And the king said unto the man of Elohim, Come home with me, and refresh thyself, and I will give thee a reward. And the man of Elohim said unto the king, If thou wilt give me half thine house, I will not go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink wine in this place. For so was it charged me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, Eat no bread, nor drink wine, nor turn again by the same way that thou camest. So he went another way, and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his son came and told him all the works that the man of Elohim had done that day in Bethel, the words which he had spoken unto the king. Them they told also to their father. And their father said unto them, What way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of Elohim went, which came from Yehuda. And he said unto his sons, Saddle me the donkey. So they saddled him the donkey, and he rode thereon, and went after the man of Elohim, and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, Art thou the man of Elohim that camest from Yehuda? And he said, I am. Then he said unto him, Come home with me, and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with thee, nor go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink water with thee in this place. For it was said to me by the word of Yahuwah, Thou shalt eat no bread nor drink water there, nor turn again to go by the way that thou camest. He said unto him, I am a prophet also as thou. And an angel spake unto me by the word of Yahuwah, saying, Bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him. So he went back with him, and did eat bread in his house, and drank water. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of Yahuwah came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of Elohim that came from Yehuda, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, Forasmuch as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of Yahuwah, and hast not kept the commandment which Yahuwah thy Elohim commanded thee, but camest back, and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place, of the which Yahuwah did say to thee, Eat no bread, and drink no water, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the donkey, to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way, and slew him. and his carcass was cast in the way, and the donkey stood by it. The lion also stood by the carcass. And behold, men passed by, and saw the carcass cast in the way, and the lion standing by the carcass. And they came and told it in the city where the old prophet dwelt. And when the prophet that brought him back from the way heard thereof, he said, It is the man of Elohim, who was disobedient unto the word of Yahuwah. Therefore Yahuwah hath delivered him unto the lion, which hath torn him and slain him, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spake unto him. And he spake to his sons, saying, Saddle me the donkey. And they saddled him. And he went and found his carcass cast in the way, and the donkey and the lion standing by the carcass. The lion had not eaten the carcass, nor torn the donkey. And the prophet took up the carcass of the man of Elohim, and laid it upon the donkey, and brought it back. And the old man came to the city to mourn and to bury him. And he laid his carcass in his own grave, and they mourned over him, saying, Alas, my brother! And it came to pass, after he had buried him, that he spake to his sons, saying, When I am dead, then bury me in the sepulchre wherein the man of Elohim is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones. For the saying which he cried by the word of Yahuwah against the altar in Bethel, and against all the houses of the high places which are in the cities of Samaria, shall surely come to pass. After this thing, Jeroboam returned not from his evil way, but made again of the lowest of the people priests of the high places. Whosoever would, he consecrated him, and he became one of the priests of the high places. And this thing became sin unto the house of Jeroboam, even to cut it off, and to destroy it from off the face of the earth. First Kings 14. At that time, Abiyahu, the son of Jeroboam, fell sick. And Jeroboam said to his wife, Arise, I pray thee, and disguise thyself, that thou be not known to be the wife of Jeroboam, and get thee to Shiloh. Behold, there is Ahiyahu the prophet, which told me that I should be king over this people. And take with thee 10 loaves, and cracknels, and a cruse of honey, and go to him. He shall tell thee what shall become of the child. And Jeroboam's wife did so, and arose and went to Shiloh, and came to the house of Ahiyahu. But Ahiyahu could not see, for his eyes were set by reason of his age. And Yahuwah said unto Ahiyahu, Behold, the wife of Jeroboam cometh to ask a thing of thee for her son, for he is sick. Thus and thus shalt thou say unto her, for it shall be, when she cometh in, that she shall feign herself to be another woman. And it was so, when Ahiyahu heard the sound of her feet, as she came in at the door, that he said, Come in, thou wife of Jeroboam. Why feignest thou thyself to be another? For I am sent to thee with heavy tidings. Go, tell Jeroboam, Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, Forasmuch as I exalted thee from among the people, and made thee prince over my people Yasharel, and rent the kingdom away from the house of David, and gave it thee, and yet thou hast not been as my servant David, who kept my commandments, and who followed me with all his heart, to do that only which was right in mine eyes, but hast done evil above all that were before thee. For thou hast gone and made thee other gods, and molten images, to provoke me to anger, and hast cast me behind thy back. Therefore, behold, I will bring evil upon the house of Jeroboam, and will cut off from Jeroboam him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Yasharel, and will take away the remnant of the house of Jeroboam, as a man taketh away dung, till it be all gone. Him that dieth of Jeroboam in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat, for Yahuwah hath spoken it. Arise thou therefore, get thee to thine own house, and when thy feet enter into the city, the child shall die. And all Yasharel shall mourn for him, and bury him. For he only of Jeroboam shall come to the grave, because in him there is found some good thing toward Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel in the house of Jeroboam. Moreover, Yahuwah shall raise him up a king over Yasharel, who shall cut off the house of Jeroboam that day. But what? Even now. For Yahuwah shall smite Yasharel as a reed is shaken in the water, and he shall root up Yasharel out of this good land, which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they have made their groves, provoking Yahuwah to anger. And he shall give Yasharel up because of the sins of Jeroboam, who did sin, and who made Yasharel to sin. And Jeroboam's wife arose and departed, and came to Tirzah. And when she came to the threshold of the door, the child died. And they buried him, and all Yasharel mourned for him, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spake by the hand of his servant Ahiyahu the prophet. And the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, how he warred, and how he reigned, behold, they are written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel. And the days which Jeroboam reigned were 22 years, and he slept with his fathers, and Nadav his son reigned in his stead. And Rehoboam the son of Shalomah reigned in Yehudah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which Yahuwah did choose out of all the tribes of Yasharel to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah and Amminates. And Yehudah did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins which they had committed, above all that their fathers had done. For they also built them high places, and images, and groves, on every high hill, and under every green tree. And there were also Sodomites in the land, and they did according to all the abominations of the nations which Yahuwah cast out before the children of Yasharel. And it came to pass in the 5th year of King Rehoboam, that Shishak, king of Egypt, came up against Jerusalem, and he took away the treasures of the house of Yahuwah, and the treasures of the king's house. He even took away all, and he took away all the shields of gold which Shalomah had made. And King Rehoboam made in their stead brazen shields, and committed them unto the hands of the chief of the guard, which kept the door of the king's house. And it was so, when the king went into the house of Yahuwah, that the guard bare them, and brought them back into the guard chamber. Now the rest of the acts of Rehoboam, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all their days. And Rehoboam slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And his mother's name was Naamah and Amminates. And Abiyam his son reigned in his stead. First Kings 15. Now in the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, reigned Abiyam over Yehudah. 3 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Avishalom. And he walked in all the sins of his father, which he had done before him. And his heart was not perfect with Yahuwah his Elohim, as the heart of David his father. Nevertheless, for David's sake, did Yahuwah his Elohim give him a lamp in Jerusalem, to set up his son after him, and to establish Jerusalem. Because David did that which was right in the eyes of Yahuwah, and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, save only in the matter of Uriyahu the Hittite. And there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life. Now the rest of the acts of Abiyam, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yehudah? And there was war between Abiyam and Jeroboam. And Abiyam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. And Asa his son reigned in his stead. And in the 20th year of Jeroboam king of Yasharel reigned Asa over Yehudah. And 41 years reigned he in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Avishalom. And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of Yahuwah, as did David his father. And he took away the Sodomites out of the land, and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. And also Maacah his mother, even her he removed from being queen, because she had made an idol in a grove. and Asa destroyed her idol, and burnt it by the brook Kidron. But the high places were not removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was perfect with Yahuwah all his days. And he brought in the things which his father had dedicated, and the things which himself had dedicated, into the house of Yahuwah, silver and gold and vessels. And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Yasharel, all their days. And Baasha, king of Yasharel, went up against Yehuda, and built Ramah, that he might not suffer any to go out or come in to Asa, king of Yehuda. Then Asa took all the silver and the gold that were left in the treasures of the house of Yahuwah, and the treasures of the king's house, and delivered them into the hand of his servants. And King Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, the son of Tabrimon, the son of Hezion, king of Syria, that dwelt at Damascus, saying, There is a league between me and thee, and between my father and thy father. Behold, I have sent unto thee a present of silver and gold. Come and break thy league with Baasha, king of Yasharel, that he may depart from me. So Ben-Hadad hearkened unto King Asa, and sent the captains of the host which he had against the cities of Yasharel, and smote Iyon, and Dan, and Abel Bet Maacah, and all Kinneroth, with all the land of Naphtali. And it came to pass, when Baasha heard thereof, that he left off building of Ramah, and dwelt in Tirzah. Then King Asa made a proclamation throughout all Yehuda, none was exempted. And they took away the stones of Ramah, and the timber thereof, wherewith Baasha had builded. And King Asa built with them Geba of Benjamin, and Mizpah. The rest of all the acts of Asa, and all his might, and all that he did, and the cities which he built, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yehuda? Nevertheless, in the time of his old age, he was diseased in his feet. And Asa slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. And Jehoshaphat his son reigned in his stead. And Nadab the son of Jeroboam began to reign over Yasharel in the 2nd year of Asa king of Yehuda, and reigned over Yasharel 2 years. And he did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and walked in the way of his father, and in his sin wherewith he made Yasharel to sin. And Baasha the son of Ahiyahu of the house of Issachar conspired against him, and Baasha smote him at Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. For Nadab and all Yasharel laid siege to Gibbethon. Even in the 3rd year of Asa king of Yehuda did Baasha slay him, and reigned in his stead. And it came to pass, when he reigned, that he smote all the house of Jeroboam. He left not to Jeroboam any that breathed, until he had destroyed him, according unto the saying of Yahuwah, which he spake by his servant Ahiyahu the Shilonite. Because of the sins of Jeroboam which he sinned, and which he made Yasharel sin, by his provocation wherewith he provoked Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel to anger. Now the rest of the acts of Nadab, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? And there was war between Asa and Baasha king of Yasharel all their days. In the 3rd year of Asa king of Yehuda began Baasha the son of Ahiyahu to reign over all Yasharel in Tirzah 24 years. And he did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and walked in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin wherewith he made Yasharel to sin. First Kings 16. Then the word of Yahuwah came to Jehu the son of Hanani against Baasha, saying, Forasmuch as I exalted thee out of the dust, and made thee prince over my people Yasharel, and thou hast walked in the way of Jeroboam, and hast made my people Yasharel to sin, to provoke me to anger with their sins, behold, I will take away the posterity of Baasha, and the posterity of his house, and will make thy house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. Him that dieth of Baasha in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that dieth of his in the fields shall the fowls of the air eat. Now the rest of the acts of Baasha, and what he did, and his might, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? So Baasha slept with his fathers, and was buried in Tirzah, and Elah his son reigned in his stead. And also by the hand of the prophet Jehu the son of Hanani came the word of Yahuwah against Baasha, and against his house, even for all the evil that he did in the sight of Yahuwah, and provoking him to anger with the work of his hands, and being like the house of Jeroboam, and because he killed him. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Yehuda, began Elah the son of Baasha to reign over Yasharel in Tirzah 2 years. And his servant Zimri, captain of half his chariots, conspired against him, as he was in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk in the house of Arzah, steward of his house in Tirzah. And Zimri went in and smote him, and killed him, in the 27th year of Asa, king of Yehuda, and reigned in his stead. And it came to pass, when he began to reign, as soon as he sat on his throne, that he slew all the house of Baasha. He left him not one that pisseth against a wall, neither of his kinsfolk, nor of his friends. Thus did Zimri destroy all the house of Baasha, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spake against Baasha by Jehu the prophet. For all the sins of Baasha and the sins of Elah his son, by which they sinned, and by which they made Yasharel to sin, in provoking Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel to anger with their vanities. Now the rest of the acts of Elah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? In the 27th year of Asa, king of Yehuda, did Zimri reign 7 days in Tirzah, and the people were encamped against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. And the people that were encamped heard say, Zimri hath conspired, and hath also slain the king. Wherefore all Yasharel made Omri, the captain of the host, king over Yasharel that day in the camp. And Omri went up from Gibbethon, and all Yasharel with him, and they besieged Tirzah. And it came to pass, when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the palace of the king's house, and burnt the king's house over him with fire, and died. For his sins which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin which he did, to make Yasharel to sin. Now the rest of the acts of Zimri, and his treason that he wrought, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? Then were the people of Yasharel divided into 2 parts. Half of the people followed Tipni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people that followed Omri prevailed against the people that followed Tibni, the son of Ginath. So Tibni died, and Omri reigned. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Yehuda, began Omri to reign over Yasharel 12 years. 6 years reigned he in Tirzah. And he bought the hill Samaria of Shemer for 2 talents of silver, and built on the hill, and called the name of the city which he built after the name of Shemer, owner of the hill, Samaria. But Omri wrought evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, and did worse than all that were before him. For he walked in all the ways of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and in his sin wherewith he made Yasharel to sin, to provoke Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel to anger with their vanities. Now the rest of the acts of Omri which he did, and his might that he showed, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? So Omri slept with his fathers, and was buried in Samaria, and Ahav his son reigned in his stead. And in the 38th year of Asa king of Yehuda began Ahab the son of Omri to reign over Yasharel. And Ahab the son of Omri reigned over Yasharel in Samaria 22 years. And Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of Yahuwah above all that were before him. And it came to pass, as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that he took to wife Isabel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal, and worshipped him. And he reared up an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he had built in Samaria. And Ahab made a grove, and Ahab did more to provoke Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel to anger than all the kings of Yasharel that were before him. In his days did Hiel the Bethelite build Jericho. He laid the foundation thereof in Abiram his firstborn, and set up the gates thereof in his youngest son Seguv, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spake by Yahusha the son of Nun. First Kings 17. And Eliyahu the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, As Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of Yahuwah came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Yarden. And it shall be, that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So he went and did according unto the word of Yahuwah, for he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Yarden. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. And it came to pass after a while, that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. And the word of Yahuwah came unto him, saying, Arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman there to sustain thee. So he arose and went to Zarephath. And when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was there gathering of sticks. And he called to her, and said, Fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. And as she was going to fetch it, he called to her, and said, Bring me, I pray thee, a morsel of bread in thine hand. And she said, As Yahuwah thy Elohim liveth, I have not a cake, but a handful of meal in a barrel, and a little oil in a cruse. And, behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. And Eliyahu said unto her, Fear not, go, and do as thou hast said, but make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for thee and for thy son. For thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, The barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that Yahuwah sendeth rain upon the earth. And she went and did according to the saying of Eliyahu, and she, and he, and her house did eat many days. And the barrel of meal wasted not, neither did the cruse of oil fail, according to the word of Yahuwah, which he spake by Eliyahu. And it came to pass after these things, that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick, and his sickness was so sore that there was no breath left in him. And she said unto Eliyahu, What have I to do with thee, O thou man of Elohim? Art thou come unto me to call my sin to remembrance, and to slay my son? And he said unto her, Give me thy son. And he took him out of her bosom, and carried him up into a loft, where he abode, and laid him upon his own bed. And he cried unto Yahuwah, and said, O Yahuwah my Elohim, hast thou also brought evil upon the widow with whom I sojourn, by slaying her son? And he stretched himself upon the child 3 times, and cried unto Yahuwah, and said, O Yahuwah my Elohim, I pray thee, let this child's soul come into him again. And Yahuwah heard the voice of Eliyahu, and the soul of the child came into him again, and he revived. And Eliyahu took the child, and brought him down out of the chamber into the house, and delivered him unto his mother. And Eliyahu said, See, thy son liveth. And the woman said to Eliyahu, Now by this I know that thou art a man of Elohim, and that the word of Yahuwah in thy mouth is truth. First Kings 18. And it came to pass after many days that the word of Yahuwah came to Eliyahu in the 3rd year, saying, Go, show thyself unto Ahav, and I will send rain upon the earth. And Eliyahu went to show himself unto Ahav, and there was a sore famine in Samaria. And Ahav called Avadyahu, which was the governor of his house. Now Avadyahu feared Yahuwah greatly. For it was so, when Jezebel cut off the prophets of Yahuwah, that Avadyahu took 100 prophets, and hid them by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water. And Ahav said unto Avadyahu, Go into the land, unto all fountains of water, and unto all brooks. Peradventure we may find grass to save the horses and mules alive, that we lose not all the beasts. So they divided the land between them to pass throughout it. Ahav went one way by himself, and Obadyahu went another way by himself. And as Obadyahu was in the way, behold, Eliyahu met him, and he knew him, and fell on his face, and said, Art thou that my Adonai Eliyahu? And he answered him, I am. Go, tell thy Adonai, behold, Eliyahu is here. And he said, What have I sinned, that thou wouldest deliver thy servant into the hand of Ahav to slay me? As Yahuwah thy Elohim liveth, there is no nation or kingdom whither my Adonai hath not sent to seek thee. And when they said, He is not there, he took an oath of the kingdom and nation, that they found thee not. And now thou sayest, Go, tell thy Adonai, behold, Eliyahu is here? And it shall come to pass, as soon as I am gone from thee, that the Ruach of Yahuwah shall carry thee whither I know not. And so when I come and tell Ahav, and he cannot find thee, he shall slay me. But I, thy servant, fear Yahuwah from my youth. Was it not told my Adonai what I did, when Jezebel slew the prophets of Yahuwah, how I hid 100 men of Yahuwah's prophets by 50 in a cave, and fed them with bread and water? And now thou sayest, Go, tell thy Adonai, behold, Eliyahu is here, and he shall slay me. And Eliyahu said, As Yahuwah Sebaoth liveth, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself unto him today. So Avadyahu went to meet Ahav, and told him, and Ahav went to meet Eliyahu. And it came to pass, when Ahav saw Eliyahu, that Ahav said unto him, Art thou he that troubleth Yasharel? And he answered, I have not troubled Yasharel, but thou and thy father's house, in that ye have forsaken the commandments of Yahuwah, and thou hast followed Baalim. Now therefore send, and gather to me all Yasharel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahav sent unto all the children of Yasharel, and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And Eliyahu came unto all the people, and said, How long halt ye between two opinions? If Yahuwah be Elohim, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Then said Eliyahu unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of Yahuwah, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under, and I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And call ye on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of Yahuwah, and the Elohim that answereth by fire, let him be Elohim. And all the people answered and said, It is well spoken. And Eliyahu said unto the prophets of Baal, Choose you 1 bullock for yourselves, and dress it first, for ye are many, and call on the name of your Elohim, but put no fire under. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. and they leaped upon the altar which was made. And it came to pass at noon that Eliyahu mocked them, and said, Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is talking, or he is perusing, or he is in a journey, or peradventure he sleepeth, and must be awaked. And they cried aloud, and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lancets, till the blood gushed out upon them. And it came to pass, when midday was past, and they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that there was neither voice, nor any to answer, nor any that regarded. And Eliyahu said unto all the people, Come near unto me. And all the people came near unto him, and he repaired the altar of Yahuwah that was broken down. And Eliyahu took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Yaakov, unto whom the word of Yahuwah came, saying, Yasharel shall be thy name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of Yahuwah, and he made a trench about the altar, as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order, and cut the bullock in pieces, and laid him on the wood, and said, Fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice and on the wood. And he said, Do it the second time. And they did it the second time. And he said, Do it the third time. And they did it the third time. And the water ran round about the altar, and he filled the trench also with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that Eliyahu the prophet came near, and said, Yahuwah Elohim of Abraham, Ishak, and of Yasharel, let it be known this day that thou art Elohim in Yasharel, and that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Hear me, O Yahuwah, hear me, that this people may know that thou art Yahuwah Elohim, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Then the fire of Yahuwah fell, and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces, and they said, Yahuwah, he is the Elohim. Yahuwah, he is the Elohim. And Eliyahu said unto them, Take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they took them, and Eliyahu brought them down to the brook Kishon, and slew them there. And Eliyahu said unto Ahab, Get thee up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain. So Ahab went up to eat and to drink. And Eliyahu went up to the top of Carmel, and he cast himself down upon the earth, and put his face between his knees, and said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked, and said, There is nothing. And he said, Go again 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, that he said, Behold, there ariseth a little cloud out of the sea, like a man's hand. And he said, Go up and say unto Ahab, Prepare thy chariot, and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. And it came to pass in the meanwhile, that the heaven was black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode, and went to Jezreel. And the hand of Yahuwah was on Eliyahu, and he girded up his loins, and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. First Kings 19. And Ahab told Jezebel all that Eliyahu had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Eliyahu, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as a life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Yehudah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came, and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough. Now, O Yahuwah, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him, and said unto him, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baking on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And the angel of Yahuwah came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. And he arose, and did eat and drink, and went in the strength of that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the mount of Elohim. And he came thither unto a cave, and lodged there. And, behold, the word of Yahuwah came to him, and he said unto him, What doest thou here, Eliyahu? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yahuwah Elohim Sevaoth, for the children of Yasharel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And he said, Go forth, and stand upon the mount before Yahuwah. And, behold, Yahuwah passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and brake in pieces the rocks before Yahuwah. But Yahuwah was not in the wind, and after the wind an earthquake. But Yahuwah was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake a fire. But Yahuwah was not in the fire, and after the fire a still small voice. And it was so, when Eliyahu heard it, that he wrapped his face in his mantle, and went out, and stood in the entering in of the cave. And, behold, there came a voice unto him, and said, What doest thou here, Eliyahu? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yahuwah Elohim Sevaoth, because the children of Yasharel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thine altars, and slain thy prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And Yahuwah said unto him, Go, return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu the son of Nimshi shalt thou anoint to be king over Yasharel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And it shall come to pass, that him that escapeth the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escapeth from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. Yet I have left thee 7,000 in Yasharel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which hath not kissed him. So he departed thence, and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. And Eliyahu passed by him, and cast his mantle upon him. And he left the oxen, and ran after Eliyahu, and said, Let me, I pray thee, kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow thee. And he said unto him, Go back again, for what have I done to thee? And he returned back from him, and took a yoke of oxen, and slew them, and boiled their flesh with the instruments of the oxen, and gave unto the people, and they did eat. Then he arose, and went after Eliyahu, and ministered unto him. First Kings 20. And Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, gathered all his host together, and there were 32 kings with him, and horses and chariots. And he went up and besieged Samaria, and warred against it. And he sent messengers to Ahab, king of Yasharel, into the city, and said unto him, Thus saith Ben-Hadad, Thy silver and thy gold is mine, thy wives also and thy children, even the goodliest, are mine. And the king of Yasharel answered and said, My Adonai, O king, according to thy saying, I am thine, and all that I have. And the messengers came again, and said, Thus speaketh Ben-Hadad, saying, Although I have said unto thee, saying, Thou shalt deliver me thy silver and thy gold and thy wives and thy children, yet I will send my servants unto thee tomorrow about this time, and they shall search thine house, and the houses of thy servants. And it shall be, that whatsoever is pleasant in thine eyes, they shall put it in their hand, and take it away. Then the king of Yasharel called all the elders of the land, and said, Mark, I pray you, and see how this man seeketh mischief. For he sent unto me for my wives, and for my children, and for my silver, and for my gold, and I denied him not. And all the elders and all the people said unto him, hearken not unto him, nor consent. Wherefore he said unto the messengers of Benhadad, Tell my Adonai the king, all that thou didst send for to thy servant at the first I will do, but this thing I may not do. And the messengers departed, and brought him word again. And Benhadad sent unto him, and said, The gods do so unto me, and more also, if the dust of Samaria shall suffice for handfuls for all the people that follow me. And the king of Yasharel answered and said, Tell him, let not him that girdeth on his harness boast himself as he that putteth it off. And it came to pass, when Benhadad heard this message, as he was drinking, he and the kings in the pavilions, that he said unto his servants, Set yourselves in array. And they set themselves in array against the city. And, behold, there came a prophet unto Ahab, king of Yasharel, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, Hast thou seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will deliver it into thine hand this day, and thou shalt know that I am Yahuwah. And Ahab said, By whom? And he said, Thus saith Yahuwah, even by the young men of the princes of the provinces. Then he said, Who shall order the battle? And he answered, Thou. Then he numbered the young men of the princes of the provinces, and they were 232. And after them he numbered all the people, even all the children of Yasharel, being 7,000. And they went out at noon. But Benhadad was drinking himself drunk in the pavilions, he and the kings, the 32 kings that helped him. And the young men of the princes of the provinces went out first, and Benhadad sent out, and they told him, saying, There are men come out of Samaria. And he said, Whether they be come out for peace, take them alive, or whether they be come out for war, take them alive. So these young men of the princes of the provinces came out of the city, and the army which followed them. And they slew every one his man, and the Syrians fled, and Yasharel pursued them. And Benhadad the king of Syria escaped on a horse with the horsemen. And the king of Yasharel went out, and smote the horses and chariots, and slew the Syrians with a great slaughter. And the prophet came to the king of Yasharel, and said unto him, Go, strengthen thyself, and mark, and see what thou doest, for at the return of the year the king of Syria will come up against thee. And the servants of the king of Syria said unto him, Their gods are gods of the hills, therefore they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. And do this thing, take the kings away, every man out of his place, and put captains in their rooms, and number thee an army, like the army that thou hast lost, horse for horse, and chariot for chariot, and we will fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. And he hearkened unto their voice, and did so. And it came to pass at the return of the year, that Benhadad numbered the Syrians, and went up to Aphek, to fight against Yasharel. And the children of Yasharel were numbered, and were all present, and went against them. And the children of Yasharel pitched before them like 2 little flocks of kids. But the Syrians filled the country. And there came a man of Elohim, and spake unto the king of Yasharel, and said, Thus saith Yahuwah, because the Syrians have said, Yahuwah is Elohim of the hills, but he is not Elohim of the valleys. Therefore will I deliver all this great multitude into thine hand, and ye shall know that I am Yahuwah. And they pitched one over against the other 7 days. And so it was that in the 7th day the battle was joined, and the children of Yasharel slew of the Syrians 100,000 footmen in 1 day. But the rest fled to Aphek, into the city, and there a wall fell upon 27,000 of the men that were left. And Benhadad fled, and came into the city, into an inner chamber. And his servants said unto him, Behold now, we have heard that the kings of the house of Yasharel are merciful kings. Let us, I pray thee, put sackcloth on our loins, and ropes upon our heads, and go out to the king of Yasharel. Peradventure he will save thy life. So they girded sackcloth on their loins, and put ropes on their heads, and came to the king of Yasharel, and said, Thy servant Benhadad saith, I pray thee, let me live. And he said, Is he yet alive? He is my brother. Now the men did diligently observe whether anything would come from him, and did hastily catch it. And they said, Thy brother Benhadad. Then he said, Go ye, bring him. Then Ben-Hadad came forth to him, and he caused him to come up into the chariot. And Ben-Hadad said unto him, The cities which my father took from thy father I will restore, and thou shalt make streets for thee in Damascus, as my father made in Samaria. Then said Ahab, I will send thee away with this covenant. So he made a covenant with him, and sent him away. And a certain man of the sons of the prophets said unto his neighbor in the word of Yahuwah, Smite me, I pray thee. And the man refused to smite him. Then said he unto him, Because thou hast not obeyed the voice of Yahuwah, behold, as soon as thou art departed from me, a lion shall slay thee. And as soon as he was departed from him, a lion found him, and slew him. Then he found another man, and said, Smite me, I pray thee. And the man smote him, so that in smiting he wounded him. So the prophet departed, and waited for the king by the way, and disguised himself with ashes upon his face. And as the king passed by, he cried unto the king, and he said, Thy servant went out into the midst of the battle, and, behold, a man turned aside, and brought a man unto me, and said, Keep this man. If by any means he be missing, then shall thy life be for his life, or else thou shalt pay a talent of silver. And as thy servant was busy here and there, he was gone. And the king of Yasharel said unto him, So shall thy judgment be, thyself hast decided it. And he hasted, and took the ashes away from his face. And the king of Yasharel discerned him that he was of the prophets. And he said unto him, Thus saith Yahuwah, Because thou hast let go out of thy hand a man whom I appointed to utter destruction, therefore thy life shall go for his life, and thy people for his people. And the king of Yasharel went to his house, heavy and displeased, and came to Samaria. First Kings 21. And it came to pass after these things, that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for it a better vineyard than it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, Yahuwah forbiddeth me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee. And Ahab came into his house heavy and displeased, because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I will not give thee the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid him down upon his bed, and turned away his face, and would eat no bread. But Jezebel his wife came to him, and said unto him, Why is thy ruach so sad, that thou eatest no bread? And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me thy vineyard for money, or else, if it please thee, I will give thee another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give thee my vineyard. And Jezebel his wife said unto him, Dost thou now govern the kingdom of Yasharel? Arise and eat bread, and let thine heart be merry. I will give thee the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote in the letters, saying, Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people, and set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him, to bear witness against him, saying, Thou didst blaspheme Elohim and the king, and then carry him out, and stone him, that he may die. And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants of his city, did as Jezebel had said unto them, and as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them. They proclaimed a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people. And there came in 2 men, children of Belial, and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme Elohim and the king. Then they carried him forth out of the city, and stoned him with stones, that he died. Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, "Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Israelite, which he refused to give thee for money. For Naboth is not alive, but dead." And it came to pass, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Israelite, to take possession of it. And the word of Yahuwah came to Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, "Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Yasharel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whither he is gone down to possess it. And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, Hast thou killed, and also taken possession? And thou shalt speak unto him, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, In the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth shall dogs lick thy blood, even thine. And Ahab said to Eliyahu, Hast thou found me, O mine enemy? And he answered, I have found thee, because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of Yahuwah. Behold, I will bring evil upon thee, and will take away thy posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Yasharel. And will make thine house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahiyahu, for the provocation wherewith thou hast provoked me to anger, and made Yasharel to sin. And of Jezebel also spake Yahuwah, saying, The dog shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Him that dieth of Ahab in the city, the dog shall eat, and him that dieth in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of Yahuwah, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. And he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things as did the Amorites, whom Yahuwah cast out before the children of Yasharel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard these words, that he rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly. And the word of Yahuwah came to Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, Seest thou how Ahab humbleth himself before me? Because he humbleth himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house. First Kings 22. And they continued 3 years without war between Syria and Yasharel. And it came to pass in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, the king of Yehudah, came down to the king of Yasharel. And the king of Yasharel said unto his servants, Know ye that Ramoth in Gilead is ours, and we be still, and take it not out of the hand of the king of Syria? And he said unto Jehoshaphat, Wilt thou go with me to battle, to Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Yasharel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Yasharel, Inquire, I pray thee, at the word of Yahuwah today. Then the king of Yasharel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for Yahuwah shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of Yahuwah besides, that we might inquire of him? And the king of Yasharel said unto Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man, Mikayahu, the son of Yimlah, by whom we may inquire of Yahuwah. But I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, Let not the king say so. Then the king of Yasharel called an officer, and said, Hasten hither Mikayahu the son of Yimlah. And the king of Yasharel and Jehoshaphat the king of Yehudah sat each on his throne, having put on their robes, in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria. And all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiahu the son of Kenanah made him horns of iron. And he said, Thus saith Yahuwah, With these shalt thou push the Syrians, until thou have consumed them. And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead, and prosper, for Yahuwah shall deliver it into the king's hand. And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, Behold now, the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. And Micaiah said, As Yahuwah liveth, what Yahuwah saith unto me, that will I speak. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, Go and prosper, for Yahuwah shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of Yahuwah? And he said, I saw all Yasharel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And Yahuwah said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Yasharel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of Yahuwah. I saw Yahuwah sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Yahuwah said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a Ruach, and stood before Yahuwah, and said, I will persuade him. And Yahuwah said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying Ruach in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him, and prevail also. Go forth, and do so. Now therefore, behold, Yahuwah hath put a lying Ruach in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Yahuwah has spoken evil concerning thee. But Zedekiah the son of Kenanah went near, and smote Micaiah on the cheek, and said, Which way went the Ruach of Yahuwah from me to speak unto thee? And Micaiah said, Behold, thou shalt see in that day, when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself. And the king of Yasharel said, Take Micaiah, and carry him back unto Amon the governor of the city, and to Joash the king's son. And say, Thus saith the king, Put this fellow in the prison, and feed him with bread of affliction, and with water of affliction, until I come in peace. And Micaiah said, If thou return at all in peace, Yahuwah hath not spoken by me. And he said, Hearken, O people, every one of you. So the king of Yasharel and Jehoshaphat the king of Yehudah went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the king of Yasharel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into the battle, but put thou on thy robes. And the king of Yasharel disguised himself and went into the battle. But the king of Syria commanded his 32 captains that had rule over his chariots, saying, Fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king of Yasharel. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, Surely it is the king of Yasharel. And they turned aside to fight against him. And Jehoshaphat cried out. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Yasharel, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture, and smote the king of Yasharel between the joints of the harness. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariot, Turn thine hand, and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed up in his chariot against the Syrians, and died at even. And the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. And there went a proclamation throughout the host about the going down of the sun, saying, Every man to his city, and every man to his own country. So the king died, and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. And one washed the chariot in the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood, and they washed his armor, according unto the word of Yahuwah which he spake. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he made, and all the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Yasharel? So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead. And Jehoshaphat the son of Asa began to reign over Yehuda in the 4th year of Ahav, king of Yasharel. Jehoshaphat was 30 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 20 and 5 years in Yerushalayim. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father. He turned not aside from it, doing that which was right in the eyes of Yahuwah. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Yasharel. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, and his might that he showed, and how he warred, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Yehuda? And the remnant of the Sodomites, which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land. There was then no king in Edom, a deputy was king. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they went not, for the ships were broken at Ezion Geber. Then said Ahaziah the son of Ahab unto Jehoshaphat, Let my servants go with thy servants in the ships. But Jehoshaphat would not. And Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father, and Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. Ahaziah the son of Ahab began to reign over Yasharel in Samaria, the 17th year of Jehoshaphat king of Yehuda, and reigned 2 years over Yasharel. And he did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Yasharel to sin. For he served Baal and worshipped him, and provoked to anger Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharel, according to all that his father had done. The end of the book of 1 Kings.